Hey,
Hello,
Steph.
ladies.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good enough. Good enough.
Good. I see we have like three people in the back
Mm-hmm.
in the waiting room.
Oh,
Let me
good.
see if what's up, Darcy? I'm gonna add you as a co-host, and then same with Keisha, co-host. I'm probably gonna email everybody real quick. Let me do that.
Oh, I guess I should unmute myself. Here I am talking to
Hmm?
myself. I'm like, why is anybody not responding to me? I'm venting here.
You're like, I'm talking. Nobody can hear me.
I mean, this month blew us by. I haven't even done anything on.
Oh no, we lost her.
Hear me? Let's see.
Oh, you got, it looks like, can you hear me, Steph?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. It looks like we got four people, but should I wait for Darcy to get back in?
Yeah, let's wait for her to get back in. And I just emailed everybody because I think we had a good amount of people that registered. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we can expect another 15 people at least.
Okay.
But I mean, it's not even seven yet. So how you feeling, girl? Overwhelmed?
Okay.
Talk to me. I feel you though. That was
A
me
lot
last
of,
week.
you know what? This was like the first time in this journey where we've had a lot more no's than yes. And that takes a little bit more adjusting and getting used to. In the Bay is like really easy to like get rentals off.
Mm-hmm.
Here in this neighborhood that we love, it is kind of like a working class neighborhood. And I feel like people are a little bit thrown off and we
Mm,
have to adjust our like price point expectation, right? Like
right.
we're gonna do it for this because we love it here, but people coming in here, doctors, and they like, girl, your neighbor.
Right. But that's good though for you to like just reanalyze, your expectation. Cause yeah, when it's nice or easier, in the Bay Area, it's like each market is different, right?
It is. It is.
I feel you, but it definitely just your energy is spent on that now. So some weeks it's like that. I think it was like that for me when I was doing the event, right? I couldn't like function. I was like, I gotta spend my energy in two to three things at once. And you guys got me covered that time. So
Well,
yeah.
thank you for understanding because I like participating in this group and I like kind of engaging and encouraging people to come. Thankfully, I feel like we're in a good spot and people are used to
Yeah,
our
and we have one more session and we'll talk about like the expectation and I want to get people to join the community and then us three can talk, and see where we see this going together and what we want to
Yeah.
do. So
Sorry, my
uh
computer for some reason turned off, and I missed like part of the conversation. But I agree with you guys. I think we need to
she said, I
talk.
don't know what you guys talking about, but yes. Well, we're gonna talk afterwards. I'm gonna let everybody come in and then we're all three of us are gonna share our screen and share our Instagram is what I was thinking, and kind of just
Okay.
pull up like what works with us. But before we do that, I have the presentation just to kind of go over like the set of rules, what we've talked about, and then maybe I'll hand it off to Darcy just to clear the air with the information that was given last month. And then we'll clear the air with, let's be nice to one another. Let's create a safe space where people are
Oh, wait,
able
am
to
I the one that's
share.
saying that? Shazam, you're
No,
so good at this.
it'll be very smooth, like, hey, I'm just gonna call on you and be like, hey, Darcy, if I just want you to quickly address the situation that we had last month. There was some, miscommunication with the lending information that was given. Just let people know that it was correct. Some of the financing options that we offered were correct and in fact are available. So we just want
And it
to
was with
clear
the
the air.
203, and it was with the 203, I mean, I done 203K loan.
And you don't have to go
Um,
into detail. You could just say, if you want more info on the 203K loan, reach out to us, but we
just like,
have,
okay.
you know, we have, yeah, we have a team that
Okay.
will do that, whatever.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna let these people in. Hello, hello. Hi, ladies. Welcome, Stacy,
Hello.
Trisha, Jamie, Lashin. Welcome, welcome, ladies. Give me just a couple more minutes. I know we're waiting for a few others, and I just want to be mindful of your guys' time, but also not repeat myself and just wait for a couple more people to join. So while that's happening, I'm gonna pull up the short presentation that we have, and then we'll dive into today's topic. Thank you guys for being here. And Keisha and Darcy, if you guys don't mind letting people in, because I think once I share my screen, I can't see anything. So,
Okay.
right. Okay, so can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So by the way, the call is being recorded and we will share it in the ADU Play community, which I'll talk about towards the end of the call. But I'm excited to talk to you guys about the theme for today. So before we get there, we're just going to quickly introduce ourselves for those of you who are joining us for the first time. My name's Stephanie. I'm one of the hosts that created space for other women. We call this the ADU. It's supposed to be the ADU Women's Mastermind, but you know, we just left it at that because we really want to open it up to people at some point. But for these specific calls for the last 4 months, it's been for women, right? And showing up for each other. So I co-host with Darcy and Keisha. You guys are here today. If you guys want to introduce yourselves really quick.
Hey guys, I'm Darcy Barajas here in Las Vegas. And I work alongside I met Steph a while ago, and I'm sure you guys have heard the story of how we met through an ADU meetup of what she hosts. And I do work with a developer. I've partnered up with a developer that focuses a lot on ADU build outs and detached build outs here in Las Vegas. We're actually the only one in Las Vegas doing anything to do with ADUs at the moment. So we're kind of pioneering it here and learning along the way, but learning a lot from Steph and Lakeisha. So nice to meet you guys if I haven't met you guys.
Thank
you,
you.
So I am Lakeisha Mitchell-Miller. I'm in Sacramento. I am one half of a ADU owner builder team. My husband and I are house hackers, and we have built 5 ADUs. And along the way, I've kind of found my passion for real estate investing and ADUs. And I think this group, Darcy, Steph, myself, and just even this meetup is a perfect example of how you can utilize social media to not just like build your community and kind of grow and have like Darcy is, I'm learning so much from Darcy and so much from Steph. And that's the benefit. That's like a key piece I think people sometimes miss with social media. It's not just entertainment. Like it really is a networking tool and it's super powerful. So that's me. I'm in SAC and I'm a new realtor.
Yay. Yes, and make sure you guys follow her new ADU Realtor page, which I like that concept and that title of ADU Realtor, which we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, I'm really grateful to have Darcy and Keisha by my side and being able to create space like this for women. As they said, it is a community, a relationship-based type of business that we all want to have and we all want to strive for. So which is why we call it collaboration versus competition. We're all here to help each other out. So we're going to get right to it. We've talked about what are ADUs at a very basic level, day in, day out. What what sort of strategies and hacks. And every month we have a different theme and we talk about it. You will have a discussion on the second half of the hour. So one of the things that we've talked about is we've kind of wanted to create a vision for you guys so you guys understand every phase of the process, right? So we've talked about design. We had Patricia, right, who talked about the design, and she gave us so much information. That was a very powerful call. So we got a glimpse of what the design process looks like, right? And how to understand that. Financing, we talked about financing last month, and we did actually give so much information. I know, Darcy, you wanted to clarify some things. Some women had doubts and questions and concerns about some of the financing products that had been, laid out on our last call. And I know that you just wanted to kind of clear the air out with that. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Darcy or myself if you guys need help with financing.
Yeah, the one thing about the financing, just to kind of get it clear, is everything that was talked about and what we talked about in the last meeting in regards to the financing and the type of products that are available on the market, including the 203K loans, was correct information. We had to get it vetted out just because I know that during our call there was some confusion. And so we just wanted to just keep in mind that a lot of this time, like everyone is in a learning circle here. But we also want to make sure that we cross-check ourselves too, because again, we are in a space where we are all learning together. And so I know that some of us know a lot more than others. So we just want to be more in that environment of saying, hey, you know what, let me just check on that. And I wanted to clear it up that we did go back after our call and called a few different lenders and also people that actually are involved with it through Fannie Mae and FHA to confirm that that was correct. So just everything on the last meeting was correct.
Awesome. Yeah, and we just wanted to clear that out because, again, we want to make this a safe space for women where you guys actually feel empowered to ask questions. We don't want you guys to feel any sort of way. That's why it is a mastermind, right? We're not just up here talking about ourselves and like an ADUs. It's like what can we all help each other with collectively? And we've got a powerhouse. Like, I'll quickly go through everybody just so you guys know. So you guys met Darcy, you met Keisha. Stacy is a permit processor, over 40 years of experience. We just did a podcast last week and she blew my mind. Wendy, she's built her own ADU. We have Lori, who also, another ADU advocate. Florentine, I mean, she has so much knowledge and expertise. Trisha, same thing. Everybody here, Jamie, oh my God, she's been such a resource for me. And I've learned so much from a lot of the women here. So I just want to give you guys a shout out for being here. And thank you guys for creating this space together, right? So I talked about what we've talked about each month. We've picked a theme and we've gone with that. The theme for this month, we're going to talk about marketing. And we're going to have a discussion, right? And talk about how to become an ADU realtor or how to position yourself as an ADU expert with social media now and using it as a tool to generate business and, cultivate clients and convert existing clients, past clients. And we're just going to show you guys like our unique approach and how we're all different, but we can really kind of implement the same basics when it comes to marketing, right? And then last month, which will be the last month of the 6-month, challenge or whatever we want to call this. We're still figuring out what we're going to do after the 6-month mark, but next month we're going to talk about construction. So I think like those 4 topics are crucial. When you really want to dive into the world of ADUs, you have to understand design, you have to understand financing, you have to understand how to market yourself, how to market the product, right? So marketing is very important. Branding, which falls under marketing, that's something we're going to talk about today. And then construction next month. So keeping it super simple. That's what we talked about month 2, 3, 4, 5. And then afterwards, we want to continue to cultivate the relationship. So I've built out a community that I'm going to talk to you guys about really quick. And then we're just going to hand it off to Darcy, myself, and Keisha. We're all going to share what we do for marketing purposes. So we've talked about house rules. I don't really have to go over that. Everybody here knows already. So I've built out an ADU community called the ADU Play under the school platforms. And I think after this next call, which is going to be about construction, we'll probably have it in that platform. I'm going to talk to Keisha and Darcy. I think it'll be a great way for us to continue to cultivate our relationships in this community. It's pretty dope because I built out different categories within the community. So you can hop into our community and I'll share the link with all of you guys after this call. Once you join, you introduce yourself. I'm going to have weekly calls every Wednesday of the month, and every single Wednesday will be a different topic. So first Wednesday of the month is going to be ADU basics. Second Wednesday of the month, we're having a guest speaker. I'm actually going to kick it off with Stacy, who's going to be one of my first guest speakers for this month. Third Wednesday of the month will be a Q&A. So it'll be kind of cool because it's going to be like a consultation live. So people who have questions about their ADU process, or realtors who want to figure out how they position themselves as an ADU expert, like you're going to be able to just talk to me and have other people listen in and learn from the call. That's going to be a Q&A every third Wednesday of the month. And then the last Wednesday of the month will be a ADU 2.0 strategies, which is really going deep into like, you know what ADUs are, you're just trying to figure out how to implement them, how to scale them maybe, right? Whether it's in residential or multifamily, and we're going to be talking more high level stuff. And in there, I'm also having like all of my podcast content and all of these recorded calls. And what's most important is a vetted network, right? I'm very big on people being vetted and fact checking everything, even the information that we give you guys today. Just check, your knowledge. And I think having a vetted network is huge. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. I'm going to have my first, speaker or guest next Wednesday if you guys want to join by then. And I'm having an exclusive call as well with other guests in that community. So with that, who wants to kick it off first? We're going to talk about marketing and branding. How do you market yourself as an ADU expert, as an ADU advocate, specialist, ADU realtor, right? If we're all here in this space, I'm assuming most of us are in that space, right? So we kind of want to hear from you guys on the second half of the call and see what's working for you guys and how are you guys marketing the product, meaning ADUs, to target clients, past clients, future clients, and then ultimately like build your own community, right? Because I think that's really where the long-term play is building a solid community. So I don't know if Darcy wants to go first or Keisha. We're going to be sharing our Instagrams. We're just going to use that as an example for today. And we'll each spend about 10 minutes showing you guys, what we do, what our thought process is when we're sharing some of this marketing stuff, in hopes that we give you guys some tips, right, on how to position yourself as well as an expert. So I'll hand it off to either one of you guys.
I'll kick it off.
Okay.
So on the marketing stuff, I'll pull up my page right now, but a lot of just kind of from the beginning, that was like one of the most like the challenging part of like, who are we selling to and who is our consumer? And initially in Vegas, it's going to be different for you guys because obviously you guys have already like a full industry of ADUs and a lot of homeowners are already very educated on the ADU process in regards to, well, I just want one, they just don't know how to get one. So that's why obviously you're important in that role. But we also have the investor pool, right? That's super educated on the ADU world in California. I'm going to start it off because I feel like I'm pioneering it here. And so to us, our tactics, our marketing strategy was slightly different. So when right now from the beginning, when we launched Picasa Homes, which is the one that we're doing just individual like ADUs and detached ADUs here in Vegas, our initial goal was to educate our industry. And by meaning our industry is a real estate industry. So kind of getting that pool of, in that community saying, okay, who am I going to contact that's in our industry that most likely will have homeowners that already own homes that are trying to either sell or use their equity, or have investors that already have a portfolio of properties that they can maximize the return on each parcel. So I started really going very hyper focused on just the realtor industry because I didn't have a product to show yet. And so initially it was just educating that that industry and making those connections. Picasso Homes, it's like slightly different because we have a showroom now in town. And so we are able to bring homeowners and investors to look at our product now. So we have like two models to showcase. And so what we do now is that we try to involve the homeowners to come into the showroom. And at that point, you close them as to the advantages and benefits of having an ADU in their home. On the now, just going really old school, we did do like magazine like ads. So like any home improvement ads that you guys get like in the mail. I love those. Those have been actually one of our main sources of marketing. Besides the social media, one of our main sources has been home magazines, home improvement magazines. And for you guys, I've worked with people in for example, we work with Home Concepts and Home Improvement magazine. Those two are in California. And I've seen some of the ADU contractors market there. As a realtor, because you're not fully just a contractor, as a realtor, I've embedded myself where it's like set your consultation and schedule your consultation. And the first person that they're going to contact when they see that mailer or when they see that ad on social media, I'm sorry, on the magazine, is going to be you. They're going to be the ones. So all of those advertisement is hitting my phone as an agent. Even though I'm not the contractor, my first pitch is going to be with the consumer. I will connect them to the contractor. So that has been like one of the biggest sources. Like we've sold about 22, we built out in the last 12 months, 22 ADUs. And a lot of that source was from the home builder, like the home magazines. Um, Again, those are people that already have an idea of it. They just don't even know where to start. And I've noticed that the majority of the times, people that I've spoken to in like, especially in California, they're like, I don't know who to go to for this ADU stuff. Like, is it realtors or is it a contractor? So I think that there's a big open market right now that agents are not, we don't think I'm going to advertise in a home improvement magazine. You just don't, you need to learn how to embed yourself into that magazine. So partnering up with a vetted contractor to get you into that field, to get your name out there, I think that that's going to be the most important. And what I mean about the magazine, the poster, the poster, the ad, it doesn't have my face on it. It doesn't have anything to do with an agent at all. It's a contractor's information, but that phone call is coming to you and you're educating the consumer from the beginning. So they're going to call you constantly. So I have not only gotten leads for the contractor that way, but I've also gotten leads for myself as an agent of like, hey, you know what? I do want to build this ADU, but can you find me some other properties that have this advantage as well? Or can you find me the next gen home? So I think that that's the biggest marketing tactic we've had in the last year that I've seen a big return on for sure. And then obviously the social media part. So like, when you go into I'll open up my social media part. I mean, right now, honestly, my page is not only geared to, it's not only geared to ADUs as much as like Steph is really good at about it. I mean, I'm like, Steph is my little, like, I want to be like Steph when I grow up. But
No, well, actually, the reason, and honestly, we could finish the call right here because I got my takeaway. I didn't even know, that's huge. Like, if you guys didn't hear that, she's had 22 ADUs built out, and part of her strategy has been marketing and like renovation ads or catalogs or whatever. That's crazy. Like that,
yeah.
mind blown for me because I'm not doing that type of marketing. And when it comes to marketing on social media, I would say that everybody has their own unique style. So even though you don't have a lot of content about ADUs, I'd like for people to grasp the concept that you are branding, right? Branding is like who you are as a person and why people would want to do business with you. And marketing is like me posting about ADUs, but then also posting about family and, like
Mm-hmm.
values and, community stuff. Like, I think that's where I always say the conversion is in the connection with people.
Oh, for
So
sure.
I think if you share with people like what your thought process is when you're posting, because that's kind of where I'm going with it, when I share mine. But I'd like to hear, yeah, your thought process when you're thinking of marketing and social media.
Yeah. I know I just got a question about I just saw a question that popped up and I couldn't read for some reason it disappeared.
Yeah, the question says, I'm sure you'll share, but how do you monetize this? And Terry, feel free to unmic so you can give us clarity on that question. Do you mean monetize like the
Yeah,
ADU build out or?
yeah, hi. How are you guys? I'm
Good,
kind
how
of
are
new.
you?
And this is like my second time to be on a Zoom, and I think this is a great process that you're telling us about, working with builders. I do that already some. I do not use any media marketing because I'm only working with two other builders that are doing construction and renovation on their own. But how do you monetize that factor, working with a builder, advertising, and them calling you? Are you only doing it on the real estate side because these people calling don't have property currently, or are they in the process of already owning property and it's the development? So is the builder paying you or is the homeowner paying you?
So with our so and how I'm put so initially with the marketing side. Okay, so I'm not paying any marketing. Like I have connected with the builder to sphere like the marketing side. So I will work with the ads with the magazine. It's like very little time for me to just connect with a magazine and say, "Hey, draft me this ad, put this ad on me." Now my phone is ringing up, I mean, all the time. And so what I need to do is when how you monetize that is you are filtering. It's like every lead you have to figure out why they're calling you, so you know that it's coming from the magazine that's a home improvement magazine. So you're going to say, are you looking to purchase, like, are you looking to build on your current home, or are you looking to
So if
upgrade
they
your
say,
home?
if they say, yeah, I'm looking to build my home, right? Then
Mhm.
now or I'm looking to buy a home to build on, then you're basically making money off of the potential sale or purchase, right? That's
Right.
one way to make money. But the
Right
other
now.
way is that I think what Terry's asking is in your scenario, right? It's different
Uh-huh.
because you don't have different relationships with different contractors. You work with a builder.
Right.
So when it comes to if it's an ADU lead, then you get compensated by the builder. If it's a real
Yeah.
estate lead, then you get, compensated
Compensated by
through a
the seller.
commission
Yeah.
by the sale.
Yeah, so okay, sorry. So yes, to answer your question, like the builder is paying me for every closing. So it's not a now one thing I have to be very clear because everybody gets this super mixed up. Everybody thinks that they're making a real estate transaction and they're going to be paid through their broker. This is not how it works. Like you are like my contractor is for me it's different because I have a flat fee with him. So every month he's going to pay me a flat fee plus whatever sales I get from the marketing that I'm doing. And so every ADU that I close, I get a percentage of that ADU, whether it's custom or whether it's the pre-designed models, I'll get a cut out of that. And then it just depends on, again, what kind of relationships you have. You can build a, hey, you know what, if I bring you a lead, just like solar companies do, right? Some solar companies are like, you bring me a lead, I'm going to give you $1,000. Whatever. It's really going to be how invested you are with that builder. I am a little bit more invested with the builder, so it's a little bit different. But if I was just like an agent that was going to try to make some residual income out of it, I think that the biggest thing is going to be, I think, Steph, you have a really good set up of how you get paid. And I think with yours, I
Yeah.
think it applied to you more, applied to more people than me.
I would say I actually have a module in my course called compensation because the course that I have is for realtors. And I think that's the biggest disconnect is ADU companies, design and build firms or architects or contractors independently haven't really figured out a model, and realtors haven't either, like a flat fee model or, a base pay model for each lead that you as a realtor bring to that contractor. So really what's going to dictate that is a relationship that you have with these design and build firms. What is the relationship that you have? And based on that relationship, it can vary, right? I've seen between 3 to 6% of the project, right? So if the ADU is 150,000, somewhere between 3 to 6%. But then there's some people who will say, I'll give you a flat fee, like what Darcy's saying, right? I'll give you $1,000 or I'll give you $4,000, or maybe they have tiers. If the ADU is, you know, above 250,000, then, you know, we'll cap it at X amount. But I think there isn't a one glove fits all, right? It's very different. And maybe we can hear from some of the people who are ADU specialists and see what sort of breakdown they have for their realtors. But I do have another question here that I think all three of us can answer, and maybe some other people. But Florentine has a question about social media branding and marketing. She says that's something that they want to kickstart this quarter. And it's lacking in her business, although she's killing it in many other ways. But one of the things that she's curious about is, how do you build, and I love this question, how do you build this into your time? For example, are you filming daily? Are you posting what you film? Are you pre-recording content? Or do you have like a filming day, you know, where you batch the content and then you repurpose it? I think all three of us should talk about this, because I'm sure all three of us have very unique styles on how we do it. But Darcy, since we're talking about you right now, do you want to answer this question? How do you like time block for content, and how do you repurpose it? What's your process behind that?
Horrible at it. I'm actually pretty bad at it. I want to say in the past year, I've been a lot better. And this year I've been very accountable for it. And that's because in our office, we have a content manager. So he's constantly like nudging at me and saying like, you haven't posted anything. Like today he was like, what is this? Like, you haven't posted nothing in the last 6 hours. I'm like, 6 hours? What are you talking about? So I think that if you build that connection with people, it's going to just people are somewhat nosy, I think. So they just want to know what you're doing, period. You know, and that's just the constant about social media. So you're kind of like a little mini movie star with everybody. Everybody's a mini star, or like a movie star now. I mean, what is it?
You're the creator of your own reality show.
Everybody, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you are even like my stucco guy has his own content creator. Like, I mean, he's awesome, but you know, that type of
skeleton, AIOPM, Fortnite balls. Like boys, I kidnap autistic.
Who let this guy in? Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Dude, I saw him. I was like, who is Omar? But okay, grand entrance from Omar in his reality show.
For a second there, I thought you were showing us a sample of your latest post. I'm like, oh, okay, what's this?
Her latest single.
You're like, just let people into your life.
Funny.
They want to see what you're doing on a moment to moment basis.
You literally called them into existence.
That is so funny, because I was like, whoa, someone really took this serious.
Oh, that's too funny.
That's funny. Okay, so not like that. But,
yeah.
But I think so with me, every single time that I'm out in the construction field, Picasso Homes we just started our social media page. And really, it was a very low, and I realized that I have to separate myself somewhat from like the brand of Picasso and still kind of, you know, sprinkle it in between my real estate business, because I've been doing real estate for over 15 years. So I had to be very balanced with that, you know. So with Picasso, I make the guys really start showing off what it is to build a home, the process of building an ADU. On the real estate side, I do post a lot more about the educational part of it. So what are the benefits of an ADU? What are the current laws on an ADU? The contractor's not really going to talk about that. The contractor's just going to care about how thick their wood is, you know, or whatever it is, right? So so you kind of get both worlds when you really start educating from both ends. So what we do is the guys send me a lot of content on the field, and I will filter it out. My content guy will filter it out. On the real estate side, I just started talking a lot more about, hey guys, you know what? I'm here visiting one of our casitas, and this is what this person is using it for. So on my stories, you'll see me post, like if I'm visiting like an investor pool, like right now we're building 18 ADUs in Pahrump. And people are like, why are you building in Pahrump? And it's our test market. We're renting them out to see how we can we're building these to see how much rental they're going to get out there. So you kind of give them that storyline. And I think that it's all about just telling the story of where you're at. You don't know everything, but you're testing this out in this city for these reasons. And then you also have the educational part as going into a homeowner's house and saying this is what the trench is going to look like, this is what the construction is going to look like. So that's kind of where what I do on my social media part the most is just tell a story. And I go in regards to the content and the creation part. I try to do it at least once a week where I know I plan my some of my posts out throughout the week, not too in advance because I obviously want to make sense of what I'm doing the entire week too as a realtor. That's kind of what I do. I hope that that made sense.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I think one last question for you, Darcy. Lori Cooper says, looking at the YouTube video on Picasso Homes ADU Casita Living in Las Vegas, it seems that the Casita ADUs are new construction. I have a 2-story brick garage on my property in DC, and it seems it's more expensive to turn it into an ADU than if I were to do a new build. I welcome feedback on this group. And yes, you're right. It's gonna be a lot more expensive to build on top of the garage because you have to get it reinforced, right? Typically, these garages are not prepared, right, to have a whole new structure built on top. And so therefore you have to reinforce the existing structure, and that many times costs a lot of money or just about the same as if you were to do a new construction. So it really just depends, you know, in your current situation. Do you want to keep integrity of the garage so you can, are you renting out the ADU, right? If you're going to rent it out, I think it'd be wise to build on top, keep integrity of the garage, and maybe, you know, offer it as an amenity and be able to charge a bit more rent. I mean, at least in places like SoCal, it really is considered an amenity to have parking. So it depends on your preference, right? And what the long-term goal is.
You know, and just piggybacking on that too, the one thing that I've noticed now in the vintage, like the downtown Vegas, they have garages that are grandfathered into the are grandfathered in, so they don't have to require certain setbacks. But if we tear down that wall, or if we tear it down completely, we have to abide by the new setback rules. So you would want to really talk to someone that knows about the, you know, where your garage is located and if it's worth it for you to even tear down, because it actually might be a benefit for you to build onto it, just like Steph said, to kind of keep integrity of the building.
So Stephanie, that's where our firm comes in, at least in
Yes.
California. We'll do like some sort of due diligence, like how would this work, et cetera, and partner with the vision side, which is sounds like Darcy and the general contractor and the property owner, right? To look at what the law says, what your jurisdiction says, what your permitting agency says, and whether there are any other agencies that come into the mix. But we don't really operate like just a hotline. Like we won't just take a call and just start talking about it. We would say, yeah, we'll send you out a proposal for due diligence and we'll look at all that, because it's very, you know, it's complicated and it requires interpretation of local code, et cetera. But it's pretty reasonably priced and often worth kind of about $600 just to do a little due diligence.
It's definitely worth it. I mean, you're saving yourself time and money at the end of the day because you're not going to go out and do your due diligence. And even if you did, like, you know, understanding what that looks like and just, yeah, reach out to Stacy. I mean, she has the knowledge and the years of experience. So that in itself is cutting you a lot of time.
Can I just jump in and just explain that I do have permits from the city and architect drawings that were done just early in the pandemic. But the prices kind of doubled on me. They were first talking about like $300,000 to do, basically turn the whole thing into an ADU, either like a small kitchen, living area on the first floor, and then bedroom upstairs, bathroom. But then it went up to like, now they're talking like 500,000, which then I'm kind of like, it's like a whole house, you know, it's a lot of money. So that's why I was asking, I mean, what do you do? Maybe you don't run into this as much on the West Coast, but back here we have a lot of these, you know, structurally sound brick garages, but it needs the plumbing, it needs the electricity, it needs sewage, everything, right? And then it gets into, it's almost like building a whole new house. So I don't
If
know.
anybody has any feedback.
So
Is
what
it?
we see is it is a whole new house, right? It's just a tiny house, and we don't do any valuation. We leave that to you guys. But it's really a price per square foot. That's how we see it calculated, right? So if you're building a 3,000 square foot home, it's price per square foot. If you're building a 900 square foot home, it's a price for 900 square feet, right? It's just a tiny house, and then it's always based on what you select for upgrades or builder standard, whatever it is, right? And then often when you're doing, like I hear about 18 tiny homes being built, well, they have a benefit of an economy of scale where they can order all their materials at one time. But when we have these one-offs ADUs, it's harder. But if you have a general contractor who is sort of doing a whole bunch of one-offs, then they can have that purchasing power. But you just have to know for your market, like what's the price per square foot for like X. And then no one's really talked about like these drop-in ADUs where whether that's coming along or not. I don't know. We have a commercial. It's not an ADU. It's a commercial project where they're using a drop-in model. And I can kind of tell you how that goes, but
What's a drop-in ADU?
it's a prefab.
Okay. All right.
So you basically, depending on the jurisdiction, you build your slab and your utility access, like sewer lines, whatever lateral. And often depending, especially if it's residential, like we know with one jurisdiction that we work in, they require the garage, if it's residential, to be built on site. So I think they don't want a whole bunch of like mobile homes. It's a little outdated code because really the reality is these are those like mobile homes, right? These prefabs, they're like what we would have said are like a nice mobile home, like a trailer, right? Like they're super nice. And but they require that you build your garage on site and then you can drop in the rest.
This is really helpful. I don't want to take up a lot of the conversation on this one.
No, thank you. This is super helpful for other people who are listening. So thank you for asking. And we're gonna keep moving the conversation about marketing and branding just so we can get through that. And then we will close it off with some more Q&A and discussions and just get to a couple more questions. So let's see. Keisha, do you want to go or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go ahead really quickly because there's a couple things. Because when I entered this space, the ADU space, I came in just as like an owner builder with no real professional experience. I think it's helpful to look at how I'm growing my social media presence. And I'm not saying it's like the end all be all because I'm really learning as I go. But a couple of things that I noticed that have really been key for me is engagement with other accounts. That's the big thing I would say is don't just hit that like button, say something, either a compliment, condolences, like something, comment on their post in some way.
Or schedule a call with them like you did with me.
Schedule a call if you're if you're like a fan. Okay. And then also share the post. You don't necessarily even have to share it publicly. When you share a post to another backup account or you save the content, that tells the algorithm that there's something going on over there that's important. So if you want to support a creator, do that, like share it between, even if it's not something you necessarily want to share on your public realtor page, do it within your family or something. Personalize your message. I've had a lot of success with just telling my story, not as a professional, just as like how I ended up in this space. And then host virtual meetups. So if you are looking to be in this space, a meetup, don't even start with like once a week, once a month, like start like talking, just being available to answer questions. Just think about how many questions you've had as you enter the ADU world. And homeowners, even though they know what they can do, they do need someone to hold their hand and get them through the process. So be that person that's like a free resource at this one meetup. Don't be given free all the time, just this one meetup.
Right.
That's going to help you a lot. And then Steph, I'm going to pass it to Steph because I think she does something really well with her stories and her reels. She is basically branding herself. And this past 2 weeks, I've had a hard time getting on social media because I'm so busy. But being able to share on your stories, your life and like what you're doing, and then on your reels, which is the only thing that the algorithm is really paying attention to right now, is stories and reels. So if you're not sharing reels, if you're not using trending audio or keywords, it's gonna just go flat. Like it's not gonna get, sometimes your followers won't even see the content if you're not using those two reels or trending audio or keywords. But Steph does this really well with her stories. I love her stories and her content, but also her stories really about sharing her story, because the algorithm doesn't necessarily need us to share every day, but we do need to consistently be putting content out in the form of either a story or a reel. And it has to be some type of consistency. So if you're going to pick every Wednesday and Friday or Saturday and Sunday, and this is something I struggle with because real life gets in the way and I don't have a content calendar. But if I were going to, moving forward, like my goal is to get a content calendar and to have content coming out on a predictable schedule, because I think that's where Steph's strength lies, and that's where the algorithm is really like honing in on that content and pushing it out once you get that consistency in. But that was it for me.
Thank you. And make sure you guys follow her. I know that they both didn't share their Instagrams, but I'm going to share it for them because they do put a lot of content out there. They are educating people. And so going back to why are we talking about marketing and branding? If you are anything in the ADU space or just a business owner or entrepreneur, period, you have to understand how to brand yourself, right? And why would people want to work with you? What makes you a different ADU specialist or a realtor than somebody else? And it's that human connection with people. So I'm very intentional with my posts, and they may seem like they're very nonchalant and it's just like casually whatever comes to mind is what I post, but there's intention behind it. That's why I always say hashtag intentional living, because I'm being super intentional about my content, about how I want to be perceived, about how I want to connect with people and what I want them to think about when they think about Stephanie. So if, my goal is that if you go on Instagram and you see my profile, it's 3 things. It's Stephanie, family, mom life, and, surfing and by the beach and real estate. Like those are kind of the 3 or 4 things that I want to go by, right? And that's the beauty about social media and about branding, is that you really can share what it is that you want to share so that you can connect with other like-minded people and start building a community, which will then build trust and then cultivate relationships, which will then translate into business opportunities. It's like that simple, because that's how we communicate as humans, right? Like we're not robots, so we have to build genuine relationships with people. So I'm just going to walk you guys through my process of what I do, what works for me, and you guys can copy this and just implement it yourselves with your style. So we'll start off with my Instagram. So it's very important to just keep it super simple as far as like the description goes. I have so many Instagram pages, it doesn't fit in here, but I would be pretty clear, and this is something I need to update, but be very clear with what you offer, right? So when people go to your page, what is it that you offer? So I think before I help people with their ADU and real estate goals, and so I have to update that, but for now I've kind of kept my titles, right? So an ADU expert, investor, podcast host, and I'll tell you guys how the podcasting really helps me repurpose so much content. So I talked about the 3 things that I want to be known for, 3 or 4. So if you kind of just scroll through my Instagram, that's kind of what you're going to see, right? Family activities, ADU stuff, real estate stuff, podcast. And these videos that you see here that are all informative about ADU topics, I kind of look at trending topics around ADUs. So kind of what Darcy was saying is always being not only relatable, but up to date with ADU legislation, which is happening very frequently nowadays. Any updates with that. I kind of just jot down 20 to 30 videos and I'll record them at once in my lender's office. So another hack is if you don't have a nice podcast studio, reach out to a lender, reach out to somebody in your network. There's contractors, like I was recording my podcast at ADU West Coast office in Seal Beach for over 2 years, and he would just let me go in there for free. He had like a whole podcast studio. So use your resources. Who do you know that has a nice studio where you can go record, 30-second videos and 30 at a time, so you don't have to constantly record a video every single day. Like I don't feel like posting every day and I don't feel like recording every single day. So I have to batch my content. And it also helps me scale, the output, and the outreach. So it has to be very informative, but then I also add real estate in there. I add the podcasting, the family dynamics to it, the beach, right? And kind of lifestyle. So I incorporate a little bit of the three, and that's what I feel like has helped me grow my community, because in my stories, it's the same concept, right? When I'm sharing my stories, it either has to do with something about the beach, something about real estate, something about mom life, or something about ADUs. Like it's really that simple. And if it's outside of that, I'm just not sharing it. You have to be intentional about how you want to be perceived. So that's that with social media. And you don't need to have a whole lot of followers to actually build a pretty dope brand and have business. Like most of the deals that I've done and leads that come in are from Instagram, right? So I have a very clear call to action. You can go to stepsellsedu.com, and that takes you to a very resourceful page, which I'll share with you guys. We just move this bar. If you go to stepsellsedu.com, I have pretty much everything that I have going on. Any meetups, any, speaking events. If you go to ADU meetups, and that takes you to all the ADU meetups that I've had in the past. I also have like a free ADU webinar or ADU presentation. So if people want to click on that, they have to insert like their name and phone number. So I capture their data, and now they can join the community. So this is the community I was telling you guys about earlier today. So I have all of that, right? I have the ADU Women's Mastermind, anything of just being like a resource, right? You want to learn about ADUs and tap into the community, just go to stepsellsedu.com. The podcasting really helps me repurpose content, which is part of the reason why I do it. The second reason why I do it, and I've been telling Darcy she needs her own, and Keisha and everybody on here, you're not only repurposing a whole bunch of content. Like look at my drive here. Every single folder has an hour's worth of conversation. If we chop that up into 30-second clips, I have like hundreds of clips here that I can repurpose, and I no longer have to continue to record myself every day and have, a camera following me around. So I can repurpose content, and which is why I do podcasting. The second reason is I'm learning. I mean, I've learned so much in every single podcast episode that I have, which continues to build my confidence. I'm also growing my network, right? Many times I'm very intentional about who I have on the podcast, and my podcast is everything to do with ADUs and real estate, right? So here's the YouTube channel. And all these videos that you guys see, I recently hired a VA. So I think it's been about 4 months working with Gian, and he helps me now. So he does all the covers for me. He repurposes the content for me. We use Canva and CapCut now recently for a lot of the editing of the videos. So he's helped me, but before I was doing all of this. So that's another reason why you want to batch content, right? Because it's just not enough time in the day, And so what I do is I work my schedule where I usually post like in the mornings or the evenings, but a lot of it has been repurposed by the help of the VA. And podcasting helps me repurpose more content, and doing calls like this one will also help me repurpose a lot of that content. And then just documenting, when you're out with clients, and you don't have to post right then and there. That was one thing that I used to do when I was out on the field a lot, is I would record, it takes 30 seconds to record the house. And then later, when you have some downtime, when you feel creative, time block 20, 30 minutes to post what you pre-recorded, right? So don't feel the pressure that you need to record where you're at. you actually shouldn't be recording and posting where you're at in real time. But, you know, get into the habit of recording everything that you're documenting. You're just documenting your day, you know, and in documenting your day, you're able to showcase what you're doing. People see the intention, and then people ultimately will build a connection. And you also see more approachable, where people will connect with you through a DM, or, you know, through ultimately like scheduling a call with me is what I want them to get to, right? And that takes time. But I think for me, this is one thing that's worked. So building the podcast, building the YouTube channel, and then the social media. And this is just the Instagram. There's also LinkedIn, right? Which is a very powerful tool. You have Facebook groups as well. And there's a couple other platforms. So hopefully that helped. Florentine, I know you had some questions about, you know, my
Stephanie, can
process.
I ask a quick question?
Yes.
This is Terry. So, does your VA organize and post and make you aware of questions via social media that are directed to you, or does he do more than that? Because even just responding to questions and checking it and downloading social media clips still takes quite a bit of information aside from even creating content, right?
Right. Yeah. So with Instagram, I haven't delegated that yet. So he does repurpose the content, but I'm still posting it on Instagram. And he is coming up with, he's helping me with some of the posts and helping me with not answering the questions for me, but letting me know, hey, you know, we got a response on YouTube and we have a question that was asked here, and I can respond to him and then he'll respond on my behalf. Because on YouTube, there is a feature where I can add him as an admin. So it's very easy to navigate through YouTube, you know, and have like delegate more to him through YouTube. With LinkedIn, same thing. He has, and I use LastPass to share all my passwords with him. The only one I haven't shared is Instagram, because I have like 5 Instagram accounts under my account and I don't want to reset my password. So for now, I'm still posting my own Instagram content, but a lot of it is pre-edited or repurposed by him. And what he does is he shares it in the shared drive. I just download it on there from, it's also practice, right? So I think once you start doing it, you kind of know when to post and how what your style is. So for me, it's very quick. I use ChatGPT now, right? Hey, give me an Instagram post about a topic between an ADU permit processor and a realtor. Boom, and it'll spit out, you know, like the post, and then I can work with that, and that helps me and it saves me time. Yes, Keisha.
Steph, how would you go up? What would you say is like how did you know that Gian was going to be a good for this job? Like, did you give him test posts to work on? Like, how did you screen for your VA?
I think for when you hire a VA, you yourself have to be prepared. So when I hired a VA some time ago, I wasn't fully prepared. I didn't have a clear set goals for them. Like, you have to tell them what to do and how you want it done. So I didn't really interview him for that. I mean, I saw his resume, right? And I knew that he had some real estate background and like some tech background, but ultimately, like, he was willing to learn the marketing side. So for the first couple of times, I was doing it hand in hand, you know, and showing him my process. But then lately, what I've been using is Loom videos. So whenever he does something, if I want him to change it or tweak it, you know, I just send him a Loom video and say, hey, next time I'd like to, you know, just have everything co-branded. So he's had to learn a little about branding and having everything like cohesively like match and look nice and understand hashtags. So it is a work in progress with your VA, but there's VAs that really specialize in marketing and branding. So you could hire a VA. I hired him through like a VA agency that I met through a client of mine. So this client of mine is in the medical field. He does MTRs, funny enough, and he has a VA. So he hired the VA through this agency, and that's what made me feel comfortable. So going back to relationships, right? Like, I felt comfortable that he had referred me to a VA out in the Philippines. And I was like, okay, like, you're doing it, you're working with this agency, and it's been going well. So I think it's just documenting your process, your style. And I didn't tell him anything different than what I just told you guys, right? Like, how do you want to be perceived? what do you want me to focus on? And each week we kind of focus on a theme. Like this week, we need to focus on repurposing as much content on YouTube because I need to get my subscribers up. And then also focusing on getting people into the ADU Play community. And that's like our main focus.
This is really basic, and maybe some of us probably need to be reminded. Myself, I have to be reminded about this all the time. We always struggle with what we're going to post sometimes, especially when you have like a content creator like filming you. And I think like the easiest thing to think about is in your daily life, what are your customers or your clients asking you? And that's what you're going to post about. Like what are the main questions? What are their concerns? What are the challenges? I think that that's like super basic. A lot of people do go to ChatGPT, which is awesome because it'll give you a lot of ideas. But sometimes it's just going back to what you do on a daily basis and what are the questions that you consistently get asked for. That those are the things that are really going to attract the majority of your people to your page and start that interaction.
100%. And if you don't have questions being asked at the beginning, come up with questions or Google what are the top 10 ADU questions. We got a lot of questions around financing. How much does an ADU cost? What's the time frame? What are the different types? What is legislation saying in your state? Like just be a resource. And nowadays, I mean, there's so much information online. I mean, you can read the HCD handbook, spit it into ChatGPT and say, hey, send me, spit out 10 Instagram posts that are very informative script or entertainment type style posts that I can share, and I think that's why these calls are powerful because now we can use clips of this and repurpose it. So it's exactly what we're talking about, right? Like how do you repurpose that much content when we have life that you have to deal with and you can't, possibly start recording every single day. So yeah, a lot of good stuff. And I like to hear everybody's different styles. We're setting these calls up for an hour and I know we're at the hour, but if you guys want to hang out 10, 15 minutes, we can chat. And I'd like to hear what some of you guys are doing, as far as branding and marketing and just get some insight. Or how we can help you guys too, like any other questions. I know we did have one earlier. Let me get back to her. I think it was Terry. She said, what's her question? Is this the time to discuss what type of insurance an agent should have to cover any discussions outside of working under a builder? That's a good question. You're really acting as a consultant, right? We're not acting as a contractor or an architect. It's really just consulting services. So at that point, you don't really need an insurance. Anybody want to touch on that topic?
I can tell you what I have, Stephanie.
Yeah.
So I'm a real estate broker, and my real estate liability insurance does not cover me discussing that portion of an event, meaning someone who wants to discuss. I taught a class at Orange Coast College for homeowners to build ADUs. And that's different because I'm under the school guide of, insurance, and I'm only working with students, right?
Right.
But outside of that, when I'm talking to someone who is interested in building, constructing, remodeling what they have, that's outside of my license coverage. And I asked that to the person who's providing my liability insurance. So what I ended up doing is they wrote an extra rider on my policy. I think maybe it's probably between, I don't know, $35 and $75 more per year, and it's totally worth it. But you have to tell them what you're doing. So if you're actually taking them to contractors' work sites, because I'm at I don't actually work for the builder, right? I'm actually contracted by them to bring them clients. So I'm still acting as my own representative. So a little bit depends on what, you know, what action you're taking, right? So I would just have that discussion with your insurance company.
That's really good insight. I haven't heard of that, honestly, on my end. And even with some of the consultants that I work with and share space with here. Florentine, are you a broker?
No, I previously was had a real estate license, and I don't now. We are a licensed general contractor though, and one thing that I was thinking of as Terry was talking about that is that in construction there is something called a licensed home improvement salesperson, and you're supposed to have a license for that. So that would probably be smart for people that are wanting to.
I was going to say that probably, you know, if you run into that liability issue, getting that certification that is offered would be a pretty good idea. Or even some of the people who have been to like the ADU Academy and have become an ADU specialist. I mean, the DRE does consider that, and they give you credits towards it. And that's something that I did in February. I taught the real estate course, and I know Florentine has too, but I'll look into it. Honestly, it's the first time that I get asked this question, and this is good to know. So I'll look into it and get back to you and see if we've had issues, but first time I hear of this.
That's actually
what having them indemnify me as well. So if they actually take a contract, I have whoever it is indemnify me from that as well.
Yeah.
Just
so
safety.
So for like our side for Picasa, when we sign contract for construction, there is like a liability of waiver for any sales representatives, any consultants involved in the transaction. So it waives everybody that you've ever worked with, or like that you, like, for example, with me, they waive the right to, you know, like I'm not liable for any consultation. Like that's why a lot of me, I do not charge a consultation fee to the client. Everything is done through the contractor. So that way the contractor's paying me. And so I fall under the contractor's liability. But that is actually a really good point, Terry, with the insurance part. I did not think about that.
Yeah, that's a good topic. Maybe we'll touch on it next month. We're talking about construction, so we'll look into it and get back to you, Terry.
And I can share who I use too, if for some reason you want to see it. I may be doing something different than maybe the next person. So they may not need it, or they may not need an identical pattern to what I have.
Right. Yeah, definitely feel free to share that with us. I think that would be very helpful for everybody here in the group. And yeah. So Florentine said half of her team is virtual as well in the Philippines. And I'm sure you guys can connect with her if you guys want to hire a VA. I mean, if you do the math, you're getting your time back. And whatever that's worth to you is whatever it's worth to you. If it's worth nothing, then keep doing it yourself. If you really care about your time, you know, trying to homeschool my son and work from home and do all that, it just made sense for me to do it. And I spend the amount of money that I pay the VA on other dumb stuff, you know, day-to-day stuff. So it's like really worth my time. I should have done it sooner. But when you do it, just be prepared to delegate a lot of the admin stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis, so that you do have more free time, more clarity, more creative time to create these questions and create this content that ultimately is going to feed you more business based on the relationships that you're building. So anybody else want to share something else regarding branding and marketing and what you guys do to generate more business or relationships? I think somebody else had a question about how I vet contractors or design and build firms. Relationships. I mean, one of the first ones that I started working with was Cameron at ADU West Coast, where I was recording my podcast, and I started going to his office, and we actually connected through Instagram. I was looking up design and build contractors in my area, and I saw his Instagram, I saw his Facebook page, and then he invited me to his site. I went to the site, and then he's like, "Oh, I have a podcast studio. You can record in my podcast." Okay. So I would go to his office every Tuesday. Then I would like randomly pull up to the office, walk to the podcast studio, and then overhear them reading plans, overhear them. "Oh, we're going to go to a feasibility. Okay, I'll roll with you guys. I'll go record content. Like this is content, right?" And then I'd get there, and then as he's literally explaining to me, "Look, this is what we're checking here. We're checking setbacks. We're looking at utility connections. We're looking at power lines." I'm just recording the whole thing, and I'm learning, and then I'm repurposing it later. "Hey, I was at a project today. We went to go see this. This is the situation with the client." Like you have to paint a story and a picture and how you're going to solve that problem for people, right? And then from there, we just built a relationship. And that's how I found out he was pretty legit and he's actually out there doing work. And he has a physical office and he has physical projects that I'm able to see with my own hands. And that's how you vet people. You don't go based off of what you see on Instagram or like, you know, a nice profile or even, you know, Yelp reviews. Like, really build a relationship. Who's behind that profile and where are their projects? Let me go see them in person. Like Jamie's a real
Or
thing,
stalk
right?
her.
Or
Like
stalk.
I stalked you. I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
follow this chick, and then I'm like, I'm gonna fly to LA. I'm gonna just stalk her and sit in a meetup. She's not gonna know who I am.
Right. Yeah, and then here
And
we
then I
are.
walked away. I left that day without saying
You
anything. I'm
did.
like, okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like when I met Darcy for the first time, she was sitting right in front of me when I had a meetup, and she didn't say anything. She just left, and I was like, oh, that, you know, I didn't really think anything about her. And then she messages me after, and she's like, hey, that was so informative, that was so good. And then we connected from there, but we didn't actually meet in person, even though she was sitting right in front of me. So that's one way to vet people. Like, go check them out first, and then do some more research, and then get a feel for it. Again, we connect and we build relationships with people that we know, like, and trust, just like our clients. Why are they going to work with you? Why would they work with Florentine versus working with me? Because they build a connection with me. And you know, whatever that was, maybe we have a kid, you know, that built that connection. So we understand motherhood. So because we understand motherhood, now let's do business together. And, you know, maybe they don't connect with me. They connect with Florentine because they have a little cute dog. So they're really into dogs. They're dog moms. Like, okay, you know, what's going to set you apart from working with somebody else? Like, there's many companies out there, but people are working with you. You're the brand, right? And you're the marketer as well. Anybody else want to share it? Something else around branding and marketing?
I think Gladia is on this call too, and she does a really good job of just showing kind of
Oh,
her.
yes. Yeah, her approach is really dope because that's another good one, right? That's another style. So I don't know if, can you talk?
I'm driving. Lakeisha always put me on blast. Thanks, girl.
I like that you just use like, and she's just having us come along with her on her process to building this business. So it's not like, Florentine, you're actually building houses. You could show the process, which people are very interested in, but you could also just show your process, talk about building the business, how you got there. And I'm interested. I'm watching Gladia all the time. So yeah, I'm
Right.
tuning.
Yeah, because
Well,
you leave them hooked enough, right, for the next post. That's a really good strategy.
Yeah, for sure. I think just documenting what you're doing in general, like the good, the bad. I've started documenting my journey to becoming a millionaire, and what that process looks like in building a boutique real estate business. And it's getting vulnerable, talking about this stuff. People really, one thing I've learned is the way you want to approach when people land on your Instagram page or just your YouTube page, whatever, it should be like a TV series where it's like, oh, what's going to happen next? So I have a countdown where it's like I have like a daily post and it's holding me accountable. And that's it. So imagine like, okay, how do I want to come across when people view my profile? Is it how can I make it like a TV series? And that's a little bit hard to think about, but I'm sure there's something that you're doing that maybe would captivate somebody. So just thinking of it from that perspective.
Yeah, documenting your journey 100%. That's a lot of content right there, is you really sharing. Not so much, if you don't want to, you don't have to share about ADUs every day, but you could share, you know, reasons why people are building, you know, and like create my story of ADUs. You know, you guys all probably have many stories. Today's story is, you know, my friend just built an ADU because her parents, you know, were aging parents. And so now we're building the ADU for them, and we're going to live in the front house, and that way they don't have to sell their property and they're able to downsize and we can still coexist. And now we save ourselves money, you know, that we don't have to pay for assisted living. It was a problem, we were able to solve it, and you're kind of sharing, a story. Why are people doing it? And then also, you know, what Gladia's doing is like sharing her journey within the business, right? So if you're on a journey to help 50 families build an ADU, what does that journey look like for you on the back end? You know, how do you get clients? Does the deal go through? How's the project looking? Like all of the back end stuff, the behind the scenes is what people really like to see. So I think it's a combination of everything that we just shared. And everybody, as you guys can see, everybody has a different style. Everybody has a different approach, but you can copy a lot of these styles, right? Like I'll see a post that Keisha did and I'm like, oh, that's smart. I should post something about that. And then I do my own style, but basically saying the same thing, right? I'm not stealing her community. I'm not stealing her clients. Like all individually, we bring some sort of energy and trust to our own community. We're all trying to build our own like community, and that's where, you know, you really are able to build a business long term. It's not just about attracting the client and closing on the client. It's like, how are you going to build a relationship with these people so that they can naturally refer you business in the long run? And that goes by, you know, do what you say that you're going to do, and don't just put it all on social media and be entertainment, and then on the back end you don't answer texts, you don't answer calls, like, you know, you can't get a hold of, you, nobody can get a hold of you. Like that's not really a good look either. So reputation matters too. So even though I'm always on social media, I answer everybody the same way because I want to make sure that it's just being projected that, you know, I am somebody that's trustworthy. I have integrity in what I do. I have good intentions with what I do, and people can see right through you with that. So this was a good topic. Nobody's talking about this stuff either, right? You can find ADU calls about design, construction, and management and all that, but branding is such an important topic because you can't build or help people build if you don't have a community or clients to build for. So I think hopefully this helped you guys, and we'll continue to, you know, cultivate these conversations. We have one more call next month. And then after that, I think we're just going to transition into the ADU Play community, and we'll have our calls there. And we're going to open it up to not just women, but everybody. I think Keisha and Darcy and I, we've talked about it. So we have to brainstorm what that will look like. But we've had a lot of men who actually want to, you know, join the conversation. And I'm like, all right, I think this would be a good time.
You know, boys can't stay away from us. Come on, ladies.
Well, because we do everything better, you know.
Exactly.
So they want to tap in like that one guy who came in earlier. They want to be like Omar and just invade space.
I thought Omar was genuinely a dude trying to participate in our group.
No, I was gonna decline, but I couldn't see it because I was sharing my screen, and I was like, hopefully nobody lets him in, you know, because it does say a man's name. But that was funny. We got funny. Hacked.
This was a great call, guys.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you guys all for being here. Hopefully it helped. I know Florentine, Jamie, even Lisa, who's on the call as well. I'm sure this helped. So thank you guys for being here. And Terry, we're going to get back to you with that liability question. That was a really good question that I haven't ran into that issue here. So we'll look into it, and then we'll address it next call. It'll be recorded, and yeah, we'll just do that. So if you guys need help with anything that we just mentioned, reach out to me. If you need a VA, I can connect you with my VA coordinator, or reach out to Florentine. If you need help on like, what does my podcast process look like? I have the SOPs, you know, I can show you my back end process on what that looks like. Whatever you guys need, just hit me up.
Awesome. Awesome, guys. Have a nice evening, ladies. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys next month. Happy 4th, by the way.
Oh, happy 4th.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Bye-bye.